Hey guys, it's Thorn again. Week 2, back-to-back videos here. Week 2, the question is, are you in or out of the broom closet? And I've talked about this recently. I've written about it at length. I have a lot of feelings, so I'll link to the lengthier, more practiced feelings below. But the short answer is that I think that I take issue right away with the notion that there's such a place as the broom closet and that we can be either in or out of it. I think that's a false dichotomy. I think it makes a lot of assumptions, and I think it fails to appreciate the nuances of living in a society and being a social person. The reality is that whether one is vocal or secretive about their beliefs, as though those are even the two options, however one presents oneself with regard to one's religion, it's dependent on environment, and we forget that, right? So, for example, I was raised to believe that it is never appropriate to talk about either politics or religion at work, unless the subject is theoretical or academic or whatever, right? If you're just standing around in the break room with your boss, especially, and it just comes up casually, okay, I don't believe that that's an appropriate work topic. And as such, I do not talk about my religion at work. Now, am I closeted? No, because it would take 2 seconds for my boss or anybody else who I work with, it would take 2 seconds on the internet for them to learn an awful lot about my religious persuasions, okay? It's just, there's no need to be upfront about it at work because that's not the subject at hand. My job at work is not to be a Wiccan. My job is to teach kids how to read. Okay, and that doesn't have anything to do with witchcraft, as far as you guys know. Anyway, sorry, no. I think that the language about the closet too also creates this attitude where we think that people who choose to be closeted must somehow be embroiled in shame in some way. Either they're ashamed of their beliefs or they're ashamed because they haven't come to appreciate who they are, like at their core or something. Like there's that association with shame and being quiet really, really troubles me because, again, it fails to appreciate that there are times where it's most appropriate to be quiet. I've seen, just out and about physical pagan communities and then in books and stuff and talking to people, I have on more than one occasion encountered the attitude that people who are pagan, people who are comfortable with their paganism or who are experienced, etc., have a social obligation to be out, basically. How we're somehow like paving a way and we need to kind of blaze this trail and make it safe for people to come behind us. We need to be vocal and convince the mundanes that we're safe, regular people or something. This is an attitude that I really resent. I think it's short-sighted, and I think it can be dangerous, because I don't think it's ever anybody's responsibility to pave a way in that sense, right? Like, I think that there are times and places to be open and to not be open. And what happens is when somebody, for whatever reason, cannot be open, to then have more experienced or at least more vocal practitioners, usually the latter, saying that they're somehow failing by not being open and not paving a way, like that. Aside from just being rude, I think it's also like that's a way of shaming people that just isn't productive. It can be destructive, and I think it's really uncalled for. I think that's always a question of personal choice. But like I said, it's about circumstance. In a lot of ways, I'm very public. Okay, obviously, I'm here on YouTube talking to you guys about religion. I've been doing that for several years now. I write about Wicca and witchcraft. This is what I focused on in graduate school. This is obviously something that I've turned into my life. So in that sense, I'm public. But you'll note that I don't talk about my private life. I don't talk about the details of my practice or my coven or my social life. Like, none of that stuff is where anybody's going to find it because it's private. And it's not because I'm ashamed. It's I don't talk about my religious practices for the same reason that I don't talk about the details of like my last doctor visit, or like it's irrelevant to what's going on. It's personal, and it's nobody else's business. Generally speaking, unless we're actually in a forum, for example, YouTube, where the subject is religion, I think that casual questions about religion from acquaintances are inappropriate. I find them rude most of the time. So it troubles me to see new folks come in and instantly there's this pressure to decide, are you in a broom closet or out of a broom closet? And it's not like that, right? It's always more nuanced than that. My close friends and my family know I talk about things more or less openly depending on who I'm with, right? And that's how it is. It shouldn't be all or nothing. And I think too often we go into it with this all or nothing approach. But I don't think it matters whether you're pagan or whether you're Christian or something else. I don't think it's an appropriate subject a lot of the time. And one of the difficulties is figuring out when it's an appropriate subject. And I don't think that we should be linking one position or the other with shame or with pride. That's just really, really troubling to me because it just fails to appreciate nuance. So that's all. Hope you guys are having a good day still.